April. The first webinar took place in April where we presented Amadeus Acoustic company from Austria who specializes in providing sound technology for venues and theaters and immersive spaces. So today we have a very special presentation and I would like to share my screen. I have two slides prepared. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
So one more time, welcome. So my name is Bernd Heber. I'm the founder and managing director of World Strings Promotion, and I'm also the leader of the Global Chamber Music Industry Group, which was inaugurated earlier this year. I'm very happy to bring together both parts, the music part as well as the music industry part. And the two people that you see on screen is myself, of course, and the other person is John Kay. And John Kay actually endorsed this webinar series with the Global Chamber Music Industry Group. And for those of you who don't know who John Kay is, he's the founder and principal songwriter and also singer, of course, of the band Steppenwolf. You may have heard the band's name, but if you don't even know the name, so the biggest hit ever for them was the Born to Be Wild song. So the picture that you see on the left is me in 2018 in October, backstage in the green room when the band Steppenwolf played their final concert ever as a band. It's another long story, but today we have a different subject. The reason why I mentioned John Kay is he endorsed this webinar series, and I've informed him about this, and he shared with me, as you can read down here, please, Bernd, keep me in a loop. But if you don't mind, tell everyone who's attending these webinars about my podcast. And I'm switching over for a second just to show you. So John has put together a podcast of the history of the band himself, his artist life, but also his change to wildlife advocate. So if you're interested to learn from the source, so it's not just a documentary by somebody, this is from the source. I put the link in the chat later. Learn about the rock music history of its finest. With that, I would like to introduce now the subject of our webinar today, which you have seen in the invite, is Nursing Rock's concert series. And basically, the bottom line mission of Nursing Rock's concert series is honoring nurses with music, one city at a time. And you can see at the left, at the bottom, the mission of Nursing Rock's concert series, and we get into this in a minute because I'm very, very proud and happy to have the two founders of Nursing Rock's concert series with us today, Spencer Kuhn and David Marshall Bornhoft, as special guests. And we will start in a minute to just talk about and have a conversation about Nursing Rocks, what it stands for, what the mission is, what it entails. Our first successful concert that we had on May 16 here in Phoenix, Arizona. But before I start, I would like to also set the expectations. So we agreed to split this hour into three sections. The first one will be about how Nursing Rocks started, the history of it, the mission, and so on. And we have the conversation with Spencer and Dave. Then, of course, we will open up for questions if you want to ask questions right then. The second section will be specifically about the Phoenix event that we had in May 16, the partnership with the Phoenix Children's Hospital, for example, and other partners. Then, of course, we open up for questions again. And the third piece will be then quickly to convey what's next with Nursing Rocks, a call to action to potentially also participate, become a partner or a supporter. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and would like to ask now, Spencer, if you don't mind us starting, and then David to introduce yourself quickly and share with the audience the history of nursing, how it started a few years ago, what inspired you to do so.
Sure. Well, I have been in music my whole life and had worked with bands for the first part of my adult life, and found myself, I got robbed. My business got robbed, and I was out all of my equipment and was trying to figure out what I was going to do next in that next chapter of my life, and ended up landing in nurse recruiting and working throughout the United States in post-acute care as a executive recruiter. And throughout that time, as I was building this business in recruitment, I was building relationships with nurses, building relationships with companies that were looking to hire nurses, and just really identified quickly how underappreciated and how valued a registered nurse is, not just in the US, but throughout the world. And so trying to marry the two things together, music and nurse recruiting, it was like, okay, how do you even think about tying those two things together? Well, as things evolved and as the years progressed, Nursing Rock started to uh, show itself through inspiration and through conversations. And 10 years ago, I left the big recruiting firm to start Nursing Rocks along with my own company. But the real focus was to get Nursing Rocks off the ground and to really do something exceptional for nurses, not just throughout the US, but uh, to educate, to honor, and to really recognize those on the front line taking care of us every day, because they just don't get the appreciation that they should. And we were so good to honor the first responders after 9/11. You know, after the pandemic, it was like, okay, what can we do to recognize this group that has sacrificed so much for us and expected so little? You know, what can we do? And so the pandemic really amplified our message and really helped focus the message. But it's been the last 10 years of a process of ideas and conversations and talking to leaders and really fine tuning what Nursing Rocks uh, is about and the mission, but also about the impact it can have throughout the US and the world.
David?
Hello, everybody. Um, I'm David Bornhoff, and I have been a longtime musician. And when I was my brother was sick in the 2019, and during that period of time, we spent a lot of time in the hospitals, um, and seeing what the kind of extraordinary care that he got from nurses and the whole staff. Uh, he passed in 20 immediately before COVID. He was the first cases of COVID were hitting the states. Um, and a year later, I answered an ad. Spencer was recruiting a drummer. So I answered that ad, and we started working together doing music. And I started hearing the stories about what he was hearing from his nurse constituents, and just how nursing had become kind of just a really difficult, almost a martyr type of job. And we, when he mentioned Nursing Rocks, the idea of that was kind of it for me. I said, well, I'm all in. Let's do that. So that's been 5 years now or so, 4.5 years. And Spence and I have been working together pretty much every day, trying to put this thing together. We want to do something that brings nursing from being a martyr position to being something that is valued by the entire community, and expressed that the community how much love we have for nurses and what they do for us, and to maybe influence a new generation of nurses to come along and want to be part of this amazing tribe of humans. So that's how I met Spencer and how I got involved with Nursing Rocks.
Excellent. Thank you both. You're both located in Arizona. That's correct?
Based in Phoenix, yes.
As we all are. So it's the headquarters of Nursing Rocks is in Phoenix, but again, it's a nationwide endeavor, of course. I would like to pick up, and full transparency to anyone who dialed in who doesn't know me yet. I got involved in Nursing Rocks last year, similar approach, reach out to Spencer and Dave, and then became part of the core member of the team in Nursing Rocks. So I've been involved ever since, and wonderful endeavor and involvement. But I would like to ask you both to just describe a little bit more in detail the concept of nursing walks. And I'm aware, of course, you started somewhere with a concept 2 or 3 years ago, but the concept changed over the period of the last, I would say, 2 years, especially last year in terms of also relationships, what the mission is. So do you mind explaining
Yeah,
the concept and then go from there?
yeah, it really goes back to the evolution of where we started and where we are today. So Dave and I met 5 years ago. We started kind of plotting out a business strategy of how to do this. And there were a few different models that we weren't real sure about. And so we just had to go out and test it. And so we had a big show in Chicago, learned a whole lot from that experience and from that endeavor. And we're able to come back to Phoenix and realize that, for us to have the most impact with these events and to get the most participation, they really have to be sponsored events, and the nurses really have to be able to come to these for free. And for them to be able to come and experience a night where they're experiencing a band that maybe they would never have had an opportunity, that they've always liked, or they just aren't able to get out and see live music the way they want to, due to expense or time, whatever. We want them to be able to carve out some time for themselves to come out and for us to celebrate and honor them. Um, and to do that, we can't ask them to buy tickets. And so that was the biggest learning throughout that first initial process, and where we moved to more of a sponsorship business model. But as we moved to that model, I started reaching out to all the leaders that I have known through recruiting over the years, and built out advisory boards in each city that we were planning to do events, so that the advisory groups could really focus on the things within their city that we don't know. So that was one of the biggest takeaways from Chicago, is that we live in Phoenix. We don't know Chicago like Chicagoans know Chicago. And so being able to engage their nurse leadership, healthcare leadership, and just general business leadership involved in the discussions as an advisory group, and say, hey, what are the best venues that we could do this? What are the best nursing schools that we can be supporting? Who within your constituents and within your network are nurses, and how many can you invite, out? And really building out those advisory board members gave us a lot of insight, because we would meet weekly or meet monthly at first, and then we moved to quarterly. And each time the concept evolved and got more refined, but then our group continued to grow, and we were getting so much more insight and input from them. It just really helped us refine the process, which is what we were able to accomplish in May here in Phoenix, with this, with our own local nursing group.
Yeah, Dave, if you don't mind, elaborate a little bit more. So one of the core elements of Nursing Works is that the net proceeds go to a local, let's say, scholarship or local nursing school. So that's of course part of it. So the big party, the concerts, but the ultimate goal is to write a check to the local nursing school also. Correct?
Exactly right. So we put on a concert, bring out some favorite bands. We bring nurses up onto stage for them to be honored by their constituents, and give them a moment to shine. In Phoenix, we had a great team that put together an amazing raffle, and gift bags for the nurses who were honored. Uh, we use that raffle money to go to a scholarship foundation, and that'll help pay for. We got a little bit of money for the nurses, so that's going to Gateway Community College here in Arizona, and in each city, each event will be raising money for the local nursing school in that neighborhood.
Perfect.
So yeah, big rock concerts or medium rock concerts with as many nurses as we can get to attend and to show off how much we love them and let them show off in front of their constituents.
Before I open up for questions, or raise your hand if you want to ask any question, of course, anytime. I have one more question for both of you. So one key element, and that evolved over the course of last year, is also very important relationships. So in one of the relationships areas, so to speak, are the nursing organizations or nurses associations. So I remember, was it October, November of last year when we got our first, in a sense, official endorsement by Texadona, which is the Texas chapter of Nadona. And then we got also endorsement later that year from Texas Nursing Association, which is part of the national ANA, American Nurses Association. So could you elaborate?
Actually, Tennessee. Tennessee.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, Tennessee. Do you mind describing that relationship, how it also contributed to the success of Nursing Rock so far? Because it's critical to have those relationships.
Sure. The nurse associations, there's a diverse spectrum of nurse associations focusing on certain aspects of nursing. And we want to be very outgoing with those groups because of their members and who they can bring to the events from a nursing perspective. Tex Nadana, I had my stomping grounds as a recruiter was Texas for 20 years. I got to know everybody in that long-term care space within healthcare, and which is an element of Tex Nadana. It's the Texas Director of Nurses Association really is what it's known as. And then we do have a working relationship with the National Association, but because our event has been focused in Texas, that's where we had really focused our attention. And with the nurse associations in that spectrum, we just want them to be included. If they have their members they want to get involved, we can work with different chapters in different cities. Our events are scalable. So if they're wanting to do something for Midland, Texas, which doesn't have the population that Dallas, Texas has, we can do something to scale for a city like Midland or like Lubbock. So working with the associations, getting their input, not only just with their members and who's involved within their organization and members, it's also helped a great partnership for them to get our message out to their greater members so that we get the highest attendance for the shows and for the events.
Yeah, and one of those organizations is ANA, which is the American Nurses Association. So if I'm not mistaken, so they represent 5 million plus nurses in this country across all the 50 states. So we have our way into the organization. We have some key people we're in contact with. So that's definitely constituents to work with, definitely. Right.
Yeah, there's so many components where, American Nurses Association, they've been very good to us from the beginning, showed a lot of direction, gave us a lot of input, a lot of their nurse leaders. We have one of their top nurse leaders on our advisory board in Washington, D.C. And so having those key relationships makes it really workable for us to get our message out.
Dave, did you want to comment or add anything?
Spot on, just like that.
So I want to open up for questions. Raise your hand or just ask any questions related to the concept, how Nursing Rock started. Okay.
Yeah,
if not,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Arvin. Yes, please. Arvin, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. My bad. So I was saying, when you first started your concept of Nursing Rock, Spencer and David, I know both of you men have expertise in your respective fields as being a drummer, and then you started being in recruitment stuff like that. But my question is, did your vision of your concept, like when you actually saw the reality of your vision of your concept, did your patterns change over time? As far as like, you had to add one more thing, you had to take one more thing out. I mean, did your pattern of your vision, did it change? And if it did change, how did that concept elevate the both of you to be better partners to each other?
Oh, that's a great question, Irvin. You know, I truly believe we meet people for a reason, a season or a lifetime. And in the season of putting this together, watching it evolve, we had the concept has evolved because of the love that we've put into this, and we wanted to have the maximum impact. We used to laugh because my whole thing was I wanted it to be a win-win all the way around the circle, where everybody walking away gains something from the events. The nurses have a good time. The artists get to show up and play to a full crowd. The sponsors are able to really get their message out. But with the feedback with the advisory groups, and Dave and I had a lot of ideas up front, but the more we worked through just that process of elimination, we were able to get enough insight from those that we trusted enough to say, okay, this is a good way to do it. Seeing that vision come to life back in May was really our first opportunity to see everything in its grandeur, because we weren't testing it at that time. We were doing it. And the takeaway from the organizations, the nurses themselves, the artists, we couldn't have expected a better outcome and hit the mark. It was just it really motivated us not only to have something like this and get involved more with the Global Chamber, but it just really inspired us to get it out to everybody that would be willing to listen to us, because we just know the power of this concept now, and it's been proven out. And now it's just a matter of scaling it up or scaling it down, depending on the size of the city, and taking it to that city and getting the message out there.
Okay. All right. You have any questions on that, David? You have anything?
Well, I think one of the things that we found is our team of volunteers just did a real amazing job putting together a raffle, putting together a really nice environment for nurses and nurse teams to come in. We found a fantastic venue, and recognize that that's one of the elements that we really need to be careful about, and find just the right kind of venue with the right kind of support. I think the raffle was more difficult than it would be it would be more difficult in other cities, because here in Phoenix we have our team, and our team was out there. Baron was out there getting sponsors and working with for people to participate. So we also did it. We started at 3:00 in the afternoon and had the event run for full afternoon. I think the next ones, maybe in Dallas, we'll do a shorter event that's more focused. Bring nurse teams in early, maybe for a VIP experience. So some of the practical parts of it are going to evolve for sure. But just finding finding a really tremendous team of volunteers, that's become, and it's very obvious that's what we need. We need a team of people in each city that are on the street, that are letting people know about the opportunity to participate. So maybe that's one of the takeaways is so we need a little bit of a runway for that, and to have put together a team in each city.
And speaking of a good team, I would like. Oh, go ahead, Erwin. You go ahead.
I was, I'm a writer, so I got a couple more questions. You know what I mean? So I was wondering, um, you the healthiness, the environment's a healthy environment because you're dealing with people who have patience, they have to have a positive attitude, stuff like that, their work ethics, and things of that nature. Their home life and stuff like that. So how do you think that the Nurses Rocks concert series is has etiquette in health and healthcare?
I don't know if I caught the last part of the question.
So I was wondering because like our nurses have like they have they have to be in a healthy environment. They promote health. They bring people from an ill state back to health.
Mhm.
They nurture health. You know what I mean? So therefore, they got to have a positive attitude all the time, which is very hard for everybody to do nowadays with Trump. But
Right.
I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm
Well,
just because
it's
what my original question was, the etiquette of everything that you have going on in the Nurses Rock concert series, the etiquettes, and how do you use those etiquettes to provide a more healthier relationship between you and the nurses? You know what I mean? And promote that ecosystem as being a healthy ecosystem when it comes to listening to music.
yes. So as far as etiquette goes, there's just a professional etiquette I've always held with my dealings with any nurse or any healthcare leader, just in the scope of my business over the last 20 years outside of music. It's really the relationship I have with them. And so being able to uh, reach out, leverage relationships, just really be upfront and transparent about what we're doing. There's no cash grab here. It's about how much impact can we have city to city, how much, uh, I guess, going back to the etiquette, when they really know what we're doing and they understand the scope of what we're doing, the heart of what we're doing speaks for us. So we always go into it with uh, a trust mindset, um, and making sure that not only are the nurses being focused on, we're getting their feedback, we're talking to them about what would they want to see, uh, what kind of experiences did they like, did they not like, what can we do different next time, and they're very willing to share. And so that's one thing, as Dave was saying, we can scale them up, scale them down, and really customize them to their own markets, as long as we have that lag time, which is typically 6 to 9 months that it takes to really do this right for the larger markets. In some of the smaller markets, we can do it in 3 to 6 months, but for those bigger cities, the reputation and treating people, not only just treating people well, but doing what you say you're going to do. Um, we learned, and I learned a long time ago, nurses have a sniff test. They know when you're not being authentic with them or when you're trying to sell them on something. And so my approach has always been not to sell anybody on anything, but just to tell them about what we're doing. And the attraction of that has created our advisory groups, Baron joining our group. We have over 150 advisors throughout the US and now some in the UK. So we're really starting to see this build its own, uh, grow its own legs and start walking on its own. And so the more we can attract to it, the bigger and better it's going to get.
It's a perfect
So
segue. Go ahead.
would you want to do you consider yourself among your Nurses Rock concert series as being a healthy environment, a healthy ecosystem? I know it is, but I'm just saying, how do you go about promoting it to where they come out and have fun? How do you do
Right.
that? How do you do that?
Well, one of the ways our first approach was to bring out vendors that are focused on the nurses themselves. Uh, we kind of were looking outside the box. We had a tattoo artist, there who was doing tattoos for nurses that wanted tattoos, and we were basically shocked at how many nurses got tattoos. Is one of those things. So being able to focus on things that are important to them that they will enjoy. And we get a lot of that input before we even start reaching out to our vendors or reaching out to other companies. We want to get an idea of what's important to them so we can hit the bullseye when they get there. We want them to come back year after year. We're going to do this in perpetuity in every city annually. And it is a ramping up process. But once we're ramped up and going to the cities, each one's going to have its own personality. Each one's going to have its own offer back to its own community, and we're going to customize those through the leadership in those cities.
Yeah, and so that's a perfect segue into the Phoenix event section. But before we go there, Irvin, I would like to show you a book that we introduced to the team. And I also want to mention that one of our wonderful team members is with us, Tammy Stockley. She was also part of the street team. Tammy, thank you so much for walking with me, knocking on the doors at Marriott and Hyatt and all these potential sponsors. Irvin, I'm holding up a book that we actually introduced in the fall for Nursing Rocks called Crossing the Chasm or Chasm, which is a book about small companies or startups that are at the verge of the next stage, what to do about it. So we introduced this concept, even though it applies mostly to IT companies or inventions per se, to Nursing Rocks. So we had a very thorough discussion. We had the senior advisory board member giving us directions and feedback to look at this concept, see what's next for us as an organization to get to the next level and be successful and continue and not just drop the ball after a few months. So with that, I would like to move over to the Phoenix event. And one of the key relationships, going back to key relationships, also healthcare institutions, was with the Phoenix Children's Hospital. So the Phoenix Children's Hospital was the key sponsor of our event in May. And I wanted to ask you, Spencer and or David, just elaborate a little bit more how we got into the relationship with Phoenix Children's Hospital, how long it took, of course, to get to the right people who also make the decisions. If you don't mind giving us a little bit of an insight in how it all evolved and led us to this event on May 16. And I will, by the way, I will share my screen and show everyone a few images from the concert while you're talking, Spence or David, if that's okay.
I was going to say, Dave, why don't you talk about Dr. White and kind of start there, and then we can evolve into the bigger story.
Sure. Like I say, I've been a musician for my entire life, and in my early dealings here in Phoenix, and then in the '90s, I worked with a couple of gals that had a real fun duo, and that duo turned into a full-size band. And in that band, I left the band, and they continued on. And their bass player is Dr. White, Dr. Greg White, who is the lead surgeon at Phoenix Children's Hospital. He's been in my studio many times to record. He plays out. I've run sound for him. I've played with him live, and Dr. White is an extraordinary person. He puts cages in children's backs 20 times a month, and gives them a chance at a good health. Yeah, he's fully amazing, and so we got his involvement early on. And he has a group of friends that have a all medical staffed band. So doctors and nurses in the band, that's them right there. Mm-hmm. And they play once in a while. They do some charity events and such. And when I talked to them about working for doing this show, they had lots of enthusiasm for it, and they came in and absolutely knocked it out of the park. Their team, the musicians, were saying it was their favorite gig they'd ever done. They clearly had a blast, and were happy to be there, and we liked that part of the formula a great deal. So we're going to make sure in each city that we find and involve a medical staffed band, preferably full of nurses. So that was that's our Dr. Greg White connection.
Thank you.
Well, and then the chief nursing officer at the time, Rhonda Thompson for Phoenix Children's Hospital, being the nurse recruiter that I am, I reached out to her and we had a conversation about Nursing Rocks. I inquired about would she want to get involved, and she not only really bought into the idea, she really started promoting it internally and was the advocate to really get it to the right people at the hospital. And once we had their buy-in from their whole team, once they understood the concept, they had some other endeavors they were doing for the nurses for Nurses Week, and they thought this would be a perfect addition to what they had already pre-planned for Nurses Week. And so it was just an amazing partnership. Their nurses got a lot out of it, as you see here. They're on. We're bringing them up on stage in between the bands. They're coming up. The lady with the microphone is Diane Bennett. She's the current chief nursing officer for Phoenix Children's Hospital, and her nurse team. All the ladies up there are a part of her nurse leadership team, and then the nurse leaders brought up a lot of their nurses from their teams, and we were able to give them, if you saw in the earlier pictures, some of the gift bags and just a lot of the cool stuff. And the gentleman you see in the middle with the beard, he's from the local radio station, our biggest rock station here in Phoenix, KUPD. A DJ there came out and was the host for the night. He announced the raffles. He really engaged the crowd in between the bands, and was just one heck of uh, a hype man. The whole night is the best way to put it, but kind of a hype man slash MC, which he made it a blast. And then just the bands and the music alone, we had some just amazing bands involved. Everybody just had a really great takeaway, and it was enough for us to be ecstatic and ready to take it to the next city.
Yeah, I just want to say I personally own a fashion magazine called Shoot Lady Magazine, and I was invited to the Nurses Rock concert series, and I live streamed it. You know, I live streamed it to my readers and my audience and stuff like that while I was there. And I just want to personally say that I got some tremendous, I mean, wonderful feedback from you guys. You know what I mean? Like everybody was interested in where I was at, what I was doing, the bands. They want to know the name of the bands, where can they find the
Mm.
bands, stuff like that. So you know, everybody from my side, readership side, and like from my magazine, like my demographics is like 60, like 70% women, 30% men. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was like it. Not saying because I have a couple friends of mine that are men nurses too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, but you know, people think nurses, they think women. You know what I mean? So that's my
Right.
demographic:
Yeah.
70% women, 30% men, and I live streamed it. And like I said, the people, the women that was pretty much interested were people like in California, New York, um, you know, a couple of people over in like Phoenix, and then there was some people that was in like Michigan. That was these women that was like really interested in where I was at and stuff like that. So that, you know, they had a good time on my Instagram feed as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for doing that,
And then
Urban.
Yes. Thank you,
you're
Irvin.
welcome. You're
Thank you.
welcome. And then another thing that happened that my organizations have been part of with Phoenix Children's Hospital is back in the day when David and Megan Johnson they created a wing at Phoenix Children's Hospital called the Davis Locker. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. Davis Locker was back in like when he played for the Cardinals. Pretty much, he was a running back. You know, David Johnson was a running back for the
Yeah,
Cardinals.
sure.
Him and
Sure.
Yes.
Megan Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So him and Megan Johnson, they donated some money, and at Phoenix Children's Hospital, they built a wing for the kids who have like traumatic, you know, trauma surgeries and stuff like that. It was just a place where people can go and their siblings can go and their family can go and they can relax. I think they put like video game consoles in there. They put some lockers in there. They put some TVs and stuff like that, refreshments and all that kind of stuff. But my magazine and News Channel 12 was the only two media outlets that was invited to, uh, you know, record that, document that process, you know, document the ribbon cutting ceremony that they had. So I just wanted to say that, you know, because so I'm like, so I really do like what you doing. So what you guys are doing. I mean, I
Thank you.
really do. You know what I mean? I love it, man. My mom's a nurse. You know, I told Tammy this before, and I told this before too. My mom's a nurse. My aunts were nurses. Pretty much all my aunts were nurses on my dad's side, my mom's side. My mom's a nurse. All my daughters are nurses. You know what I mean? I got friends of mine that are male that are nurses. So it
We
was
love
like
them
when I
all.
heard about your
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, when I heard about what you guys were doing, I'm like, that's
Oh,
exactly like my life. You know what I mean? So I had,
yeah.
so I would like to be, I would love it, and I thank you for having me be a part of this series.
Well,
Oh,
Um,
no,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Irvin, for also putting a special
well,
featured article in the July issue, in the global issue of your magazine. I really, really acknowledge it and very much thank you. I have a picture in front of you. You see in the parking lot of the Walter Studios, that was the venue where we had our concert, uh, two Lucid cars. So I just want to also mention, in terms of, we talked about relationships to the nursing associations and institutions, but some of the relationships that we started to build were with some companies. So, for example, Lucid Motor Company, you may know them, based out of actually Arizona. The manufacturing takes place in Arizona with with the headquarter in Los Angeles. We started building a relationship. So we invited them because we know nursing, and it goes back to your earlier question, Irvin, in terms of saving the environment in a sense. We know nurses are protective of the environment, all for whatever we can do. Of course, an electric vehicle company. So we introduced Lucid to Nursing Rocks concert series. We're about to also continue the relationship, see what's next. And I also wanted to read the list of companies that either supported our event in Phoenix and or became also sponsors. So among them are Unitech Learning, IKEA, Trader Joe's, Four Peaks Brewing Company, Dutch Brothers, Sam's Club, City of Hope, Firehouse Subs, Malmsten, it's a Swedish company, Hyatt Hotels, and Marriott Hotels. So these are all relationships that we started. And of course, as you recognize, some of the names of those companies are nationwide. And we, of course, hope to continue the relationship and deepen the relationship for our next events coming up very soon as well. So with that, I would like to uh, enter into the third section. Unless there's any other question, I haven't had a chance to see if any hand is up. Any other question? If not, then I would like to go back to Spencer and Dave to let everyone know what's next, what are the plans, what are the next cities, and also in terms of relationships that we're building, including and also the call to action to potentially participate in Nursing Rocks. Spencer or Dave?
Yeah. So our next shows right now, our next show would be Dallas, Houston, Nashville, and order is up in the air. But as far as our next shows, Dallas, Houston, Nashville, Denver, Seattle, Vancouver. We just have an inquiry about Seattle just over the last couple of days. And then anywhere that somebody wants to bring the event, we can start the conversation now. If you know of a nurse that, or you know of a team that would want to hear about this, or uh, going back to Irwin's comments with family being nurses, that's the cool thing about Nursing Rocks is that everybody has a nurse somewhere in their life, whether they're related to one or brother, sister, uncle. And if you aren't, then you've probably been treated by one recently. But we all know we come into the world through a nurse and we're more likely going to exit the world through a nurse. So we're all going to be touched by a nurse at one point or another in our lifetimes. So just being able to get that ongoing message out there that we're always looking to do more for the nurses. We're always open for suggestions. We're always looking to sharpen the saw and make them bigger and better. If they see stuff that we could be doing bigger or better, we're always all ears. And so the next steps, Dallas and leveraging the advisory group there. We have some sponsors already in play, but we're looking for more and other partners. We're looking at Dallas College Nursing Program as our school in Dallas to be making our endowment towards. Uh, and then as far as getting involved in any city, if you want to get involved, I would recommend reaching out to myself. You can reach out to Baron. You can reach out to either one of us, Dave, Baron, or myself, and just inquire about, hey, how do I get involved? And we can schedule a call and take you through the process. But this isn't supposed to be a time suck. It's all about fun in the planning, but also fun in the event when it finally comes up.
Yeah, one of the relationships or partnerships that we're building, and thanks, Doug, even though you're not here, thanks to introducing me to Stephanie Austin, who's the Global Chamber chapter lead in Dallas. So we're working with her, finding, of course, potential sponsors and partners in Texas, of course. I would like to just wrap it up. I would like to ask David, talk about the music aspect a little bit more. I know you know where I'm going with this, right? So that we had a discussion when you read the title, Nursing Rocks Concert Series. There's some thinking if you read it, so it has to be rock music. And we know there's studies that nurses love heavy metal, rock music, but we had a change in terms of perception. What kind of music would we want to present on stage? And if you don't mind, Dave, talking about a little bit more how this changed in terms of also presenting nursing rocks, but then also talk about the playlists, if you don't mind, for a moment, and perhaps also the podcast. We haven't addressed the podcast yet.
Sure. As far as music goes, we we're looking for the right fun kind of bands in each city. So that's it's really going to be event centric. What kind of band? That's going to be based on sponsorship. How the scale of the event. Um, we know that we did early research on this and found that nurses like heavy music, but we know that there's a real that's a very diverse group of people out there in the wild. So nursing rocks is really rocks being you guys are awesome and we love you and appreciate you. That's the idea, and that's an idea that the message needs to go out to the public that that we need to express that more often and in more ways. So the music side of things, you know, 3 or 4 bands, some local bands. We're going to do some really good headliners, and the events will be. The events are supposed to be a joyful expression for the nurses. So we'll have fun music, and we'll have heavy music, and we'll have you know, some DJ music and all sorts of different things to kind of touch everybody's taste. And hopefully, you know, hopefully 3 or 4 bands is a good number. That's what we found in Phoenix. That's what we're going to shoot for at the next event.
Dave, how many playlists do we have right now?
Somewhere well over 20 playlists. So I curated playlists for Spotify, nursing playlists, and they're fun. They're you know, ladies of the '80s or the Flannel Invasion or you know, boys bands, just all sorts of different kinds of music for nurses on their way to and from shifts to listen to and kind of get inspired and just a fun nod to them.
Thank you. So I put one link to one playlist in there, but if you go to Spot, not only on Spotify at this point, if you search for Nursing Rocks concerts or Nursing Rocks, they all will show up, and then you pick the one that you really prefer. And
A good place, Bjorn, a good place to go is the website. The website I have as a page. I have a radio page that you can go listen, and that has all of them, and you can pick from the list.
Okay, I will put that link.
Yeah, I was about to say Nashville, Seattle, Vancouver. Those are all the hot spots, man. I'm telling you, those are like even Houston, Dallas. You know Dallas. Okay, but my thing is Nashville, Seattle. When I heard Vancouver, I'm like, those are definitely hot spots, man. You know what I mean? You're talking like,
Yeah.
you know, Nirvana back in the day. You talk about Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville. Elvis. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like in Vancouver had that scene too. You know what I mean? Vancouver is like they have nothing else to do up there but do music and bars. So it's like that's wonderful. That's exciting to me. I'm just like I'm excited. I
Excellent.
really
Can't wait to have you at those shows, Irvin.
Yeah, I'm thinking about coming up to Nashville. That's for real.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
I
be
like.
like, well, you can follow us like the Grateful Dead. Everywhere we go, you just
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm originally from Florida, and they used to do that. Before. I remember doing because I used to live in Gainesville. I was born and raised up in Gainesville, Florida, and I remember they used to do that when I was a little kid. You know what I mean? I remember
yeah,
walking around, seeing all these people with these tents, going, "What in the world?" I was a little kid. You know what I mean? I was like, "What in the world are all these people doing with these tents out here?" You know what I mean? And then as I got older, that's when I knew that the Deadheads followed the Grateful Dead. But I actually got to witness that. I wasn't a Deadhead. I just got to witness that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
As
yeah.
a child.
May I ask, so are there any other questions, comments? I see some very familiar faces and friends would like to, if we have, we have 7 minutes to go around and see what kind of music would you want to see, although you may have not checked all the playlists yet. Which kind of music would you like to see as a nursing rock playlist? And Marisa, is that okay if I ask you what kind of music you would want to see? I know you're
Thank
probably,
you.
yeah.
But I think Hammondberg had his hand up before I did. Am I right,
Oh
Hammond?
no, that's okay. I just want to find out when the Dallas event was because I don't want to miss it because that's where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll briefly just mention, but first of all, thank you for taking the time to explain and elaborate. Of course, I had heard from you, Bern, of course, about nursing rocks, and I had read, but listening to this conversation truly gave me the clarity. And I'm in San Antonio, Texas, very close to, Hammond. I think we met in Dallas in the women's event with Stephanie Austin.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so I'm over the moon that you guys are coming to Texas. And all I wanted to mention is, without, of course, I haven't yet, I'm going to listen to those playlists happily. But there is a band, there are many bands, of course, but there is a band in Austin, well, Austin, Texas, right? The capital of live music.
Oh,
Um, there is a particular band that I have worked with in the past. They do world music. They are truly a fusion of world music. Incredible band.
that
They
could
are
be
super
cool.
famous in Austin. They're called Atash, Atash, which means fire in Farsi.
Uh-huh.
The vocalist does sing in Farsi and Spanish and English and French, but it's really more about the combination of instruments. There are violins, there are an Indian sitar and tabla, as well as flamenco guitars and African drums. It's just an incredible sound. And in San Antonio, well, I brought them to San Antonio because I'm a huge fan. But in Austin, they're incredibly popular. Everyone knows them. They go to like grocery stores, these big, beautiful, grocery stores like Trader Joe's and Central Market, and they play on Sunday, and people dance. You see Austin people, if you ever been to Austin, you know the vibe.
Yes,
Just like jamming and dancing. They have no clue what they're dancing to because I don't think anyone truly understands the Farsi. But it's just such a beautiful. They just know how to do it. They've been doing it for a long time, and I'm connected to them. So if you guys are interested in bringing them to the mix, I'm happy to talk to them first, of course. But as I listen and make sense of everything, the first, and when you guys mentioned, which I kind of knew, Bern. I mean, you had mentioned already Texas, but it clicked like, oh my goodness, like Austin is an incredible place, and this band is just very, very popular in Austin. Everyone knows them, and I think they would be over the moon to be part of this effort. And just in case, I don't know how much world music fusion you may have already in the
no,
genres, but I would love to make that connection and support and share um,
abs-
as much as I can. So thank you for your work.
Thank
well,
you. We'll check them out for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And we're also working with Texas Nurses Association based in Austin. So, that's Austin, like you said, is such a great music town. You got Austin City Limits and Sixth Street and all of those great places. So, yes, we're coming to
By
Austin.
Southwest.
Yeah, South by
Yes,
Southwest. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely awesome. I will be happy to make those connections.
yes. I love the world music approach because the more diverse that we can have, the better it is for everyone. Have we,
Yes,
were, we were joking at one time. You have your soft rock, and then you have your mainstream rock. You have maybe something on the heavier side, but then you have something that's just more universal that people just like to dance to, right?
yes.
So that could be very powerful, Marissa. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. So we have 3 minutes left. So Hammond, I know you wanted to also comment or have a
Yes.
question.
Well, first of all, I want to know when the Dallas event was. Is that
So
coming?
we were, yeah. So we're working to have. So we had planned on October. It's more than likely going to get pushed closer to the holidays, but we are still focused and working our best to have it happen before the end of the year. It's been
Okay.
a it's been an aspect of venue going back to that 6 to 9 month uh, runway that we need.
Mhm.
Uh, we're planning on the bomb factory, if you're familiar with the
Okay.
bomb
Okay.
factory. And so what had happened, we were supposed to be there in June for the Nadana National Conference, and the bomb factory had us booked in a much smaller venue than we needed. And we didn't know that until 2 weeks before the event. So we just had to reschedule, and that's been kind of a, a mess as far as trying to just figure out a date. But we're looking
Right.
late October or early November.
Okay, because I would love to definitely be a part of that any way I can. Sure.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
And also, I just want to say that, if there's a way I could help, because my company, we specialize in streaming services and live event streaming services. So if I could donate that, because I support nurses. My wife has been in
Oh,
and out of the hospital. I've seen what they do, and so this could help connect to a wider audience and even help fundraise and all that through. So if you,
oh, that would
Nice.
be fantastic. I mean,
absolutely.
how cool would that be? Yes, we'll take you up on that.
And yeah, I got your
Absolutely.
name down. I will definitely reach out.
Great. Well, yes, let's talk.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
All right. Excellent. So we're at the hour, 1 minute. Back to you, Doug. Thank you very much for giving us the stage to present Nursing Rocks to the world, and hopefully that ignites or inspires other people just to pick up the phone and call Spencer, Dave, myself, or Tammy. I see Christina's on from Seattle. Just connect with us, and then we go from there. Thank you, Doug, and Global
Thank,
Chamber.
thank you, everybody. The Export Import Forum starts in 3 hours. Anita Rodal will be discussing not the most exciting topic for me, tax and accounting, maybe for you, but this is much more interesting and exciting. And I really love the fact that you've made so much great progress. Thank you for your continued growth and bringing the notes around the world to more people. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank
Doug.
Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
thank you.
Hi, Marissa. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you, David.